It's so hot. It's 104 and it's like the I feel like it's like it's like to my dad, should I make you listen? Or like, oh, my friend loves it. It's been cooling down.
Go ahead and check in for me. Some of you I see, but I don't see.
But I was like, this has been cooling down. Cooling down, I mean, it's been 100. I said to my dad, I was like.
All right. Today we're gonna continue working on questionnaires. I'm gonna show you a little video to start, but it needs some context for those of you who aren't big sports fans. So Allen Iverson played basketball for the 76ers 20-ish years ago, was MVP of the league. At one point, he skipped practice, got a little flack for it, and he had this famous rant at his press conference.
To sum it up, when you just talk about practice, we sitting here, I'm supposed to be a franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice, not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice, not a game, not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice. I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm supposed to lead by example. I know that.
So anyway, every time I say we're gonna practice today, I hear him in my head, it's like, practice. We're talking about practice. Yes. We're talking about practice. All right. Once again, our levels of measurement. Trust me, bro, it's gonna matter, right? So at the lowest level, so Pinot Noir is our mnemonic, if that's helpful. We start with nominal or categorical. These variables just have characteristics or attributes that are different from each other. We cannot put them in order. So if you look at the variable and look at the different options and you can't put them in order, no, that's nominal. So no order, nominal. Okay. Next level up, we have ordinal. Sounds like order. We can put these in order. Okay. We know which one has more than the other, but we don't necessarily know the distance between them. So we've talked a lot about if you run a race and someone was gold, silver, bronze, you know who was first, second, and third, but you don't know how far apart they are. On a questionnaire, we often see this when we give ranges, for example, in age groups. And then our last two, interval or ratio, sometimes we call it scale. These are technically different. We're going to treat them the same because for analysis purposes, they're the same. Just like ordinal, except now we know the distance between attributes. We can subtract distance between attributes. And we've talked about the examples of scales that may say strongly agree to strongly disagree. There's variations on that, but that's the most common. And we're gonna assume those are interval, and we're gonna treat them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can make a case that those are ordinal, but we're gonna generally assume those are interval. It allows us to do a bit. Again, instrument is the tool we use to collect data. In our case, it's usually gonna be a questionnaire or a survey. Items are the statements on a questionnaire or survey. And then the scale is what values we assign. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, strongly agree to strongly disagree. And then I complained about the use of the word scale because we will also use it to mean a multi-item measurement that measures one construct. And we went through these tips for writing excellent questions. I'm going to just highlight a few of them. Avoid double-barreled questions. So questions or items. Like it's technically an item, but you'll hear me say question too. So these are items that are asking about more than one thing. In general, avoid items that ask people their perceptions about one thing causing another. in general. Write the language respondents use, avoid jargon. Use precise alternatives. So in other words, make sure your choices don't overlap. Most common one we see there, that's income, and we'll see, like say, it might say 0 to 25,000, 25 to 50. Well, if I make 25, like which do I choose? Write clear instructions. Provide contact info for follow-up. Thank your participants. Pilot test. So before you need the data, practice it with someone to make sure it makes sense. And then I'm gonna add 2 that we did not talk about on Tuesday. One, in general, do not ask for identifying information. Do not ask for name and email unless you need it for something. Okay. Why not? Joe?
Sometimes people are less likely to provide information if it's not anonymous.
Yeah. Okay. We want people to be honest and open, so we'll make it anonymous. And I showed you the example where I needed the email for a drawing, and then we just linked to a separate survey, so I couldn't connect them. Okay. And then the other one I'm adding is do not, in general, require answers. That should say require answers, not require questions. Require answers to questions. So if you've ever filled out a survey and like you go to advance and it's like, you can't advance because you've missed this thing. Hey, don't do that. Do that. Why would I not do that? Has anybody ever experienced that where it wouldn't let you advance because you didn't fill something out? Okay. Sometimes it's like you're trying to buy something, so you have to. But if I'm just filling out a survey, what am I potentially going to do then? Never mind. And I'm just going to exit out. Okay. So, and it may be sometimes people skip things by accident. Sometimes they skip it because they didn't want to answer it, and that's okay. I'd much rather get 90% of their information and skip a few than them exit out early. All right. Let's have a little bit of fun here. So what I want you to do, make a friend or a couple friends. I want you to write 2 bad questionnaire items. Okay, so have a little fun with this. Sometimes it's easier to see these when they're like wrong than when they're right. So feel free to make a friend or friends. Come up with 2 questionnaire items that violate any of our rules. Take a minute and do that. Go.
It's so weird that you tried to do it right, well, that intentionally you're wrong.
Okay, avoid some. Oh, I need to pull my examples back up.
Did you like the? Yeah, I got a good one.
Good one.
I think I got it.
I'm trying to think of double barrels, 2 things in the same question. You like pizza and ice cream? No. Oh my god, I read causal as casual. Avoid asking about casual relationship. Yeah. Are you saying that?
I'm like
20 more seconds.
back. Let's see, you go for. Well, this one go for avoiding the questions. This one's coming after.
All right. Let's share a few. Anybody got any fun ones? What do you got?
Did you enjoy the entertainment and the food?
Say it one more time, sorry.
Did you enjoy the entertainment and?
Did you enjoy the entertainment and the food? The entertainment was great, the food sucked. What do you want me to answer? Yeah, don't weird. Great. What else? Quiet.
What's your name?
What's your name? Yeah, asking for identifying information. Good. Say one.
Where do you live?
One more time.
Where do you live?
Where do you live? Okay, as long as it's not like an address, right? Like what state, what neighborhood, maybe even, but like address would be a no, yeah. Zip code's good. Yeah. Anything else? Grace?
Did you not enjoy the event? It's kind of like not clear.
Yep, so not doing those negative questions because it hurts our brain, like, what do I answer? So we want to make it, often people read surveys quickly, right? Especially because we're in an over-surveyed world. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to read. Anybody do any like technical jargon or? I'll bring in some examples of bad stuff and that's gonna go on. All right, a couple other just review things. So we've talked about single item measurements. Okay, how stressed are you? We might give a 5-point scale. And multi-item measurements. So these 7 items we combine to measure our one construct, in this case, stress. This gives us more nuance, right? More nuance, but it's obviously it takes longer to complete. So it's what's more important to us. Let's do this. All right, let's have a little fun.
High school. Huh?
You ever been first place in the movie and on the last question you get up to 4?
I've never been first place.
Okay.
Freshman year at the dorms. They had,
Warning, I will talk trash through this, just so you know.
What were we saying in the dorms?
they had a good bathroom again.
If it bothers you that I'm gonna talk trash, make sure you stay off the
I
lead.
was the first place the whole time. The last question, I didn't know what it was, because oh, who's this logo to this person? I dropped the first of it, they had to go with the prize pool for podium. I was.
That's actually so sad. I would be really mad. Look at me, I have a crown on.
Well, duh. Have a crown. Said that more British year.
But I have a crown.
Oh, I got a crown.
I've got a crown. Yeah, okay. I have
Beat the toast.
beans and toast are good. Do not have.
It's so like boring.
Beans and toast. You can buy and I don't know.
And they. I know.
Oh, I know. You told me I want to be a rabbit crowd. I want to be a cute animal crowd. There you go. I like the funny, I guess. Just changed.
Everybody who wants to play in? I'll tell you a little story while I wait for any of the final folks. So this is a story to remind us it's good to clarify before we assume something. So we were doing a Kahoot in my class one time. It was right around the time of George Floyd, so racial tensions were high. And someone's name popped up here as KKK. And I was like, what do I do with this? And then I forget how we realized it, but both myself and the student realized, well, she knew that was her initials. She did not put together that maybe she would go up there. But yeah, that was someone's initials. And then she was like, oh, maybe I should do something different. But yeah, I was like, this is going to not be the class I thought it was going to be. So anyway, good example to always clarify.
It's really judgmental of you to just say that.
Oh, God.
All right, we ready, team? Following can I do with ordinal data? Can I count them?
We said the same
Averages, medians, or none?
No, it's not an order. Oh my God, I was thinking nominal.
Want to count or frequency? So let's talk about this for a second. So let's think about a good ordinal item. So what is your age? Under 18, 18 to 25, 26 to 40, above 40. So I get a bunch of data back. All right, so everybody goes through, fills this out. Can I figure out an average age from this? No. All I can do is count, okay? 12 people said this, 6 people said this, 3 people said this, 10 people said this. Which we would usually do as a percentage. 33%. It's the only math I can do quickly. So all I can do with those is counts or frequencies. Right. Page early to the board. Someone close. All right, next question. I believe there are 8. Yep. An example below, what is the term for the part where the arrow is pointing? What is the term for this part? All right, I'm not helping. Well, the item, it is the item. You will hear it called question, and I'll even slip into that sometimes too, but it is technically an item. Technically an item. Page holds on. Not much change at the top.
Paige is eating it up.
It's early.
I'm 1,000 points behind.
Okay. What is it? Sorry, there's a visual obviously coming. What is that top part? Well done. That is the scale. Let's see, we're gonna guess Paige got it, but was she fast enough to keep her lead? No. She dropped off the floor, feeling a little pressure there. Colton moves on the top, but it is close to the top. Oof. It is right there. Right. Next question. The tendency to agree with an item that uses the strongly agree to strongly disagree scale is known as. Acquiescence bias. Acquiescence bias.
Second to like.
One. Hey, this isn't horseshoes. It doesn't matter. Close is not good enough.
No, literally.
Only in hand grenades. It's a terrible thing to say. I don't know why I say that. All right. Yeah, so to acquiesce, to passively agree. Right, we know it's not Grace.
Yeah.
Oof moves into the lead.
Okay.
We're gonna keep Oof's identity secret until the end. Joe, right on his tail. Ryan W. Indra and Summer. Halfway there. Acquiescence bias is most common among samples that. Of less formal education, yeah. So there's likely a power imbalance going on here. So I may just want to agree with everything because I think that's the right thing to do. So if we're using samples that do not have a lot of education, be careful about using agree, disagree statements. All right, we got a lot of variety there. Oh, Summer moving up. Summer looking a little surprised back there. Joe holding on to second. AJ new to the board. Team Yo and Megan. Few more to go. You give a survey to 500 people and 50 people respond. What is the response rate? Math. Should be different.
I mean, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
My math is like, not there. I discussed this yesterday.
Gentle.
It's like, my brain is.
Okay.
But
Yeah, 10%. Alright, 10%. 50 out of 500. Now, for a lot of you, and some of you can try again, I'll give you a little lesson in brain development here. You can take youth development with me. So for some of you, your immediate reaction, so what's called your limbic system, which kicks in before your cognitive, said 5, because you just saw the 5s and you immediately thought 5. Okay, and so your brain sees that and it goes 5 before it's called the frontal cortex kicks in and says like, no, wait a minute, that's not the case. Okay, it's like if you're out walking on a trail and you see a stick, and you're like, snake. Okay, that's the limbic system, and then your brain processes and goes stick. So those who said 5 saw the snake and responded. Joe's been hanging out number 2 and now moves up with a pretty solid lead there, but AJ on his tail. Questions to go. What is the advantage of using a multi-item scale? It provides a more nuanced understanding of a complex construct. It's definitely not easier to analyze. It's actually harder. You've got more data. Joe now pulling away. This may be a race for silver. Megan close. Kendra's been hanging out there a while. Candace new to the leaderboard. Some are still hanging on with 1 question remaining. What's wrong with this? Yep, overlapping answers or not precise alternatives, either one. All right, so this is going to be a question of speed. I think this is a race for silver. Megan pulls into 3. Kendra knocks AJ down. Joe, unless you just tanked it. Yep. Joe's looking very confident back there. Why do people wait? Why is it in the back row? Class.
One wrong.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. I'm off my game. I usually add some completely random like pop trivia at the end to some people out there, but
love a good crew.
now we're all gonna have that music in our head all day. You're welcome. Okay, we just talked about acquiescence bias. Social desirability bias is a similar thing, but it's saying what you think the researcher wants you to hear. So oftentimes we're asking people about bad behaviors. Social desirability bias is gonna kick in there. Think about survey fatigue. So long surveys, people are gonna not pay attention. So you're gonna have some drop off. One of the things we will do, what do you guys think of that light off?
Like it.
Like it, okay. Okay, that means no falling asleep on me. All right, one of the things we will do, and we can do with electronic surveys now is, to a certain extent, we'll randomize the order. Okay, what that does is it means the same questions aren't always last. Okay, so, if people are dropping off, they're not always skipping the same items. When you're doing your order, things to consider, does the answer to one thing influence the answer to another? And by the way, it does. It does. Do you want to put your most important questions first So you make sure people want to answer them. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought is put some easy ones up front, just so people get some momentum. You can decide. And then just think about, because so much of what we do is electronic. Think about the number of choices, and then lastly, consider that balancing act between single item and multi-scale or multi-item. Okay. Multi-item, sometimes also called scale, sorry. Again, gives us better information, but it takes people longer to fill out. So you've got to decide what's more important there. Okay, response rate, the number of responses divided by the number of people you've asked to respond. New term, new concept, validity. Validity is whether a measurement or the instrument, whether an instrument measures what it is supposed to measure, what it claims to measure. Okay. Whether or not an instrument measures what it is supposed to measure. Sounds pretty simple and obvious, but it's actually not. So let's look at some examples. Okay. So let's think about, let's say if you're interested in this question, does underwater basket weaving, so does participation in underwater basket weaving decrease stress? Pause for a minute. Don't shout it yet, but everybody think about it. In this case, what's the predictor or independent variable? And what's the outcome or dependent variable? Don't shout it. Okay. What's the predictor variable in this situation? I want to know, does participation underwater basket weaving decrease stress? What thing predicts the other? Yeah, Kendra.
Participation in.
Participation in underwater basket weaving. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. And what is it predicting? What's the outcome?
Stress.
Stress. Stress. Excellent. Ideally, we want to measure each of these variables independently of the other. Let's see what that looks like. So some common errors. Do you feel that going to underwater basket weaving decreases your stress? What is this actually measuring? It's
Feeling.
yeah, your perception or feeling, right? Okay. Which can be useful. These can be useful. I don't think you can ever do this. I think there are better ways. Okay. It can be useful, but really what you're measuring is their perception or their feeling. It may not even be the case. Okay. There's another issue with this. Okay. And I agree with this. Do you feel that going to underwater basket weaving decreases your stress? Strongly disagree, disagree. Does that make any sense? Can I agree, disagree with a question?
There's no strongly agree.
Yeah. Oh, that's also a good point. I didn't catch that. Good eyes. Okay. Also, I have a typo. But can I agree with this? If I said, do you want to have steak or ice cream today? And you said, I agree. Doesn't make any sense. Right. So if we're using strongly disagree to strongly agree, it should be a statement. Statement would then say, I feel that going to underwater basket weaving decreases my stress. I really enjoy going to underwater basket weaving class. What is this measuring? Clearly, I copied and pasted the scale here too. Enjoyment. This is measuring enjoyment. This isn't measuring participation. This is measuring enjoyment. Different thing. This is better. Okay. In a normal week, how often do you participate in underwater basket weaving? None. Once, 2 to 3 times, 4 or more times. Okay. In general, my stress level is high. I strongly disagree to, now I get it right, strongly agree. Then the analysis is going to tell me if these things are related. This participation, what level of measurement is this? Okay, first of all, can I put these in order? Is C more than A? Yeah, that's as obvious as it seems. So we know it's not nominal. So the question is the distance between none and once. Or the distance between these the same? Can I subtract? If someone says D and someone says C, do I know what the difference was? I see some head shake. I'm seeing some kinesthetic moments. Yeah, correct. So it's ordinal. Grace?
Can I say it's ordinal?
Yeah, it is ordinal. Yep. And then we've said these statements we're gonna assume are interval anytime we do the agreement. And we'll learn it later what analysis we do. Okay. So that's the best way. Even better, use a multi-item measurement for stress. One tip about using multi-item measures, okay? Validity can get really tricky. So if you're using a multi-item measurement, find one that someone else has already developed. Don't reinvent the wheel. So we're gonna get into class, we're gonna talk about app one. That's all common errors from app one. For the rest of class, we're going to practice these. Okay, I'll put that link back up in a second, but well. So you have two options. If you want to do this electronically, you can copy that URL and then we'll paste that URL into your browser and then make a copy of it. So there's tinyurl.com/402 FAVP, which stands for all variable practice, in case you're wondering. Okay, if you'd rather do it on paper, I have some. That's a call me, like, yes, give me paper. All right.
I'll take
There you go. I'm gonna, there's not enough for everybody, but it's close because I always underestimate. So if you're not using it, don't take it. I'll give it out separately, but I have some scrap paper if you want it. The second thing that's going around is just scrap paper if you want it. So if you look at this, like, what is that? It's the back of things that don't need. It's just scrap paper if you need it. The second thing is the back is blank. So we're reusing things I've already printed on.
In general, for like the scales, strongly disagree. Agree usually on 5.
Usually, but as long as you know. Just grab it. All right, I'm gonna go over this once everybody has it. Well, this is, again, practice. This is not graded. So what you've got here is a series of questions we might like to answer using research. So does birth order affect income? So in this case, you're going to identify what's the predictor variable, what's the outcome variable. Okay. And then you're going to write a questionnaire item that measures income at the ratio level or scale level. And then you're going to write a questionnaire item that measures income at the ordinal level. Okay. So what I want you to get in the habit of here is thinking about when we write questionnaire items, what level do we want to measure it at, and how do we write the item to measure it out? So most of it's that way. Here you might see, right, 3 questionnaire items that use the same scale and measure academic performance. So this is basically asking you to write a multi-item measurement that measures academic performance. I'm going to be floating around. I'll answer any and all questions. Maybe not all, as many I can. But any general questions before I give you your time? We'll come back at 1-ish and go over it a little bit. In the meantime, I'll just float around. Raise your hand if you have questions. Go.
Victor?
You want music while we work?
Yeah, please.
Okay. What level of music? Our walk-up songs or something a little more chill?
A little bit more
A
chill.
little more chill?
You get the greatest show on, I'm gonna start singing it. so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's gonna, that is not chill.
Okay, so. Okay. Is that right? Like the predictor and the outcome like that? Genre.
Is it under S? Yeah.
I don't know when it's just about the music.
Skip over this later. How many genres of music do you?
Okay, folks, let's talk for a few minutes. So, we're gonna go over a couple of these. And then I have a video I'll post on Canvas, which is me going through all of them. I will tell you, I recorded that video a couple classes ago. So you might hear some references to that were time specific, but I've also found when the answers are the same, the mistakes tend to be the same. So you hear me saying, I saw a lot of this. It was actually referring to another class, but I'm guessing you're doing the same thing. All right, let's tackle the first one. So my impression is you're pretty good at predictors and outcomes. My impression is you're pretty good at ordinal. So ordinal, again, we're gonna see ranges. So I know which answer has more than the other, but I don't know how much difference. I can't subtract one from the other. Okay. The one that was tricking us up here is writing it at ratio or scale. In this case, the easiest way to do it is what is your income? On blank. What happens then, someone's gonna tell me 50,000, someone's gonna tell me 72, whatever, and then I can subtract them, so that makes them ratio. The other thing I could do, it actually would be at interval, but scale level, I could do something like, I make a lot of money. Strongly agree, neutral, disagree, sure. That's an interval level. That would be another way to do it. Coffee consumption affect academic performance. Predictor coffee consumption, outcome academic performance, right? Interval or ratio, how much coffee do you drink, fill in the blank, or how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? If I only said like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I just assume no one's gonna drink more than 5 and stop it there, that becomes interval. Okay. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more, that becomes ordinal. Because now if someone picks that or more, I can't subtract. Nominal, what do folks do for nominal? Page. Do you drink coffee? Yes, no. Yeah. Or some people were asking like, what type of coffee do you drink? Yeah. These 3 questions, what I realized, Grace found my loophole here. I need to reword this. What I really wanted you to do there is write a multi-item measurement. A multi-item measurement that's measuring the same construct. Again, I'll send out the video that goes over all of these, but are there ones you want me to go over now? I want to go over app 1 before we get out of here. So.
I just answer example of the one that I got confused on, maybe, just so
I don't remember which one.
the 3 questionnaire.
Oh.
I did that for the food insecurity.
Okay, and to clarify, it wasn't that you were confused, it was I poorly worded.
I don't know.
So, The way I would do that, I would set up my. Okay, can we get used, because it's, if I had SA, sure, okay. That type of scale, and then I would say, right. There is a grocery store near me. Okay. I rarely feel hungry. I can always get food when I am hungry. That's what I had in mind. You just sound smart to me. Now, another thing we can, and we'll get more into this when we talk about causality. So in this, what is the effect of music on college student anxiety? Right, the way this is worded, music is the predictor, anxiety is the outcome. How do I also think about this? What is the effect of anxiety on music choices? Like if you're stressed, you're gonna listen. If I'm stressed, I'm listening to different music than if I'm calm, right? So I could reword how I think about that, and then it literally flips them. So sometimes it's about how you word the question. I want to go over app one, just in case. We can come back to that if you still have questions. All right, app one, which right now is due Monday by midnight. I might change that. Okay, so you're gonna click here for instructions. First, identify a research question that is of interest to you. This isn't gonna be your final project. Do something that's fun or makes the assignment easy, whatever you're interested in. It's always kind of fun for me to see what you're interested in, but do not stress about this piece. If this is like freezing you up, send me a text or a quick email and let's figure something out together. I don't want you to waste mental energy figuring out a topic. Identify the variables. What's your predictor? What's your outcome? Okay. Then you're going to create a little table like this. What's the variable? What level are you measuring it at? What's the item and what's the scale? If you're using a multi-item measure, which is fine, you're going to have several items for that. You're also going to include 3 demographic items. Okay. So age, race, ethnicity, major, whatever. Describe in detail how you would collect data if this was your project. Here, there's not a specific right answer. I just want you to start thinking about the realities of data collection, because I think oftentimes, even like my PhD students, it's like, here's my study I'm going to do, and I'm going to survey 350 kids. And I'm like, great, how are you going to get that? Right? It's easy. So I just want you to be thinking about that. Okay. 4, you're going to create it in Google Forms. And the form is going to measure your demographic variables, measure your variables, include at least one open-ended question. A few tips for success based on things I've seen in the past. Review those slides with the tips for writing excellent questions. So make sure you're including instructions, thanking the participant, providing contact info. Make sure your items are valid. In other words, make sure they're measuring what they claim to be measuring. Try to avoid causal items, so things that ask about people's perceptions or feelings. And then I have a little video with just some tips for professional formatting. Okay. Part 5, there's no grade here. It's just a chance for me to check in with you. Like, what's making you nervous? What are you worried about? What are you thinking about in class? What questions do you have about that? Okay. I'm make sure I'm not forgetting something else. I want to ask you, but I know if I ask you, I know what you're going to say. Our next topic is design and causation. We're doing pretty well on pace. Actually, let me ask you this in a different way. How many of you have class before this class and after this class? Okay. That wasn't helpful. That was not conclusive enough. All right, we're doing pretty well on pace. I will not be here Tuesday. I can have my PhD student come and do the next lecture. She's great. You'll love her. This class is my baby, so I'm a bit of a control freak, so it's hard for me, but I can do it. The advantage to that is that means we're not gonna rush. The disadvantage is you get a different voice, which sometimes can be a little confusing, sometimes can be helpful. Or we can cancel class. Yeah, why do I bother to ask? All right, here's the other thing I'm gonna do. I need someone to send me, I'm gonna move the deadline until the end of day Tuesday. So we're gonna pretend that in lieu of that class time, you're gonna finish up your homework. And that's just, I will just FYI, normally I'm super happy to answer questions at any point. My wife is having knee surgery Tuesday, so Tuesday and Wednesday, like I am not gonna be available. I might be Wednesday if she's just asleep. But, so I'll post an announcement, but no class on Tuesday. And actually, someone needs to remind me, who's got their phone out and has my number? Text me and say, no class, move deadline or something. Something enough to trigger my memory.
What are your
All right, folks. Any other questions, comments, snide remarks? Have a wonderful week. I will see you back here in a week.
You guys are going home? I was gonna ask if you guys.
You can keep those if you want. If it's helpful to you to keep those, you're welcome to. If not, I would love to see them. It just helps me know how you're doing.